I could talk about WillSuite for ages. I just don't understand why people would not be using WillSuite with all that WillSuite. Huh?
That's music to my ears. You do radio shows, don't you? So you should do the intro. Let's change things up. Do you want to do the intro?
Change things up.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Selene C. Jordan of Omega Wills. I'm here with the awesomeness that is Tom. Tom is such a diamond of WillSuite. I mean, anything you need. I don't think I've asked Tom a question that he hasn't known the answer to. So we're having a little bit of a chat, and I'm telling him all the wonderful things that I love about WillSuite. Just to give you a little bit about myself, I'm an individual who wears many hats. One of those hats is as a will writer. My father started Omega Wills in 2004. And unfortunately, about 7 years ago, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So he asked me the question, darling, are you going to take over the business or not? And I thought, well, let's have a look. I did a little course, an introduction to will writing, and it turns out I absolutely loved it. And so an opportunity has arisen for me to dive into will writing full time. And I'm so glad that I came across WillSuite and Tom and the team, because it is just such an amazing piece of software. I'm not tech savvy, but it is an amazing piece of software that not only helps you to write wills, but keeps you accountable, keeps you in contact with your clients, keeps you on top of your invoices and all of that sort of stuff. So enough about that from me for now. We're going to dive in, break it all down. So keep it right here.
I love that. Thank you so much. So quick question. How long have you been using WillSuite for?
I think it's probably about 6 months, a little bit more than 6 months. I think, I don't know.
And you're about to immerse yourself fully in it soon, right?
Oh, I'm so excited. Because I know that I'm not using all of WillSuite. I'm at the tip of the iceberg. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all the other fantastic elements that there are. Some may not be necessary, may not be suitable for me either now or period, but I know that there is still so much more. I didn't think I would be able to get my head around the pipelines, for example. And now they're my favorite feature.
We were just chatting off screen, weren't we, about the pipelines? And you were telling me about some of the things that you use the pipelines for. And quite simply, other people aren't using those. It would be good. Maybe can you give us one example of how you're using the pipelines?
Yeah. So a pipeline is basically like, what can we call it? A timeline of where you are. So I've set up all these different tick boxes within a pipeline for me to keep myself accountable and keep me in check and kind of remind me what the next step is. So for example, there's a feature where within a pipeline you can tick it to kind of say, okay, this is where I am. But not only can you do that, but you can also add a little feature to it that says, okay, once I've ticked this box, send an email out to the client to also let them know where I am. So it's a great feature to remind clients that you haven't forgotten about them. So for example, if I've written a draft will and or LPA, then I can do what I'm doing, make sure that I'm happy with it. And then once I tick it to remind myself at a glance that I'm in the drafting stage, it will then send a text and or email, whatever you please, to the client to say something like, great news, your documents are being drafted. We'll be back in touch with you in a few days or whenever, and let you know how we're getting on, however you want to word it. And then I've actually got another one that says, which is actually for me, which says, your drafts are being proofread. They'll be with you in 24 hours or something like that. And those messages are automatic. So you don't have to click the draft tick box and then contact the client. It's automatic. I love that. I just think it's great. And so easy for us who has so much to deal with already.
So how does WillSuite compare to other CRM platforms that you've been using?
The CRM platforms. So I mainly use WillSuite to write wills. I haven't really dived into the whole CRM side of it. I love the address book. And I love that you've made the address book exportable to CSV, because what I used to do is in my emails to clients say, great news, your documents have been drafted, but I still need this information. And then I've had to go to Excel and type in, what I need. But now part of the will writing process is automatically creating an address book. And now I just export that to CSV, make it look pretty, and attach that and say, could you please fill in the missing information? I love that.
We can make life even easier for you now. So the new Connect integration, it's basically like a client portal, although we're not allowed to use the term portal because every man and his dog's got a portal these days. But the new Connect integration allows you to send a link to your clients to log in basically to their own record within your WillSuite account.
Oh, I love that.
They can add their own address book. So they can add all the people who are going to be in there as executives, beneficiaries, trustees.
Brilliant. Yeah, I do find myself starting with the address book now. So once I've had the initial consult with my client or clients, I will immediately go to the address book and just start there, fill that in. I might even change my instruction form to put the address book at the front just to make it easier, because that's the starting point. And then I love that when you go through the drafting process, you can just click a button and then it goes, who do you want to choose? Your address book. And you're like, oh, that one. It just makes it so much easier rather than going Sally Ann, 23 The Avenue.
We've got an instruction form that matches closely the instructions or the questionnaire format on WillSuite. I can send that across to you if you like.
Yes, please.
I'll brand it before I send it across to you as well. It's just a little thing that we can do for you. So next question, if that's okay.
Yep.
So if you had to give advice to somebody else who is either starting their estate planning journey or is an existing practitioner, I mean, I suppose that's two different categories, but what advice would you give them?
Get onto WillSuite. I don't.
That wasn't a lead into that.
I know it wasn't, but I know that it wasn't, and I think you're too humble to have tried to have let me in. But genuinely, I have a WhatsApp group with about 12 other will writing ladies on there, and they're all like, can anybody tell me where the precedent is for this, this, and this? And I'm like, WillSuite, because it's so simple. You put all your answers in, and then if it's not in there because it's specific, you can add it. You can edit a clause if you want. So it really is just such a simple and effective. Is it software? Is that the right word?
Yeah, it's a software solution. Yeah,
it is such a simple and effective software solution, and it just makes my life so much easier. I was using actually another thing I like is my dad was using another software, no names mentioned, but it was kind of whether thine art if the founteth of the knowledge thus bequeath to thee. And people have called me, my dad's former clients have called me saying, I've got a will here, I don't really understand what it says. Whereas in WillSuite, it'll say, if anything's left over, it goes to them.
It's designed in plain English. Absolutely.
It's in English. And one of the things I love is that some people on the other software, there is it a commentary? There's a commentary, like a breakdown of what your will, but WillSuite, you don't really actually need that commentary because the will is it does what it says.
Still provide it though. We
do still provide. I was going to say that you do still provide it, but it is not as Shakespearean as the others because the will is Shakespearean. I mean, I love a bit of Shakespeare, but in 10 years' time, when you want to have a look at your will, you might not remember what per stirpes means. So there you go. I give to my children and their children and their children,
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to give us your views and give us your thoughts on WillSuite. Love that you're on board. Love that you give us loads and loads of feedback, and love how much you love the software, which is nice. The team love you, by the way. They think you're great. And we look forward to working more closely with you in the coming weeks, months, and years.
Definitely. Get ready.
Thank you ever so much.